Hi, I am Rachel, a sales coach for retailers who works with you to help you improve your customer retention, keep your team motivated, and also boost sales. Today, I'm super thrilled to bring on Claire and Joseph from the Digital Bosses. If you're not familiar with who they are, Claire and Joseph have extensive knowledge and experience within the beauty, skincare, and fashion industries. They have over 12 years of experience combined and many top lines such as NARS, Yves Saint Laurent, Armani, Dior, to name a few. And what they've done is they've taken and channeled their knowledge and skills in marketing, sales, retail, and business to launch their own branding agency, the Digital Bosses. And their mission is to help small business owners and female founders bring their ideas to life with innovative and cutting-edge creations. They provide this amazing 360 branding solution that helps you replace strategy with stress, which is always a good thing, which this morning, we're definitely experiencing stress if you've been with us since technical difficulties, but obviously they don't help with that. But doing so, they are just truly amazing. They'll help you take your business to that next level and connect you with your customers and build a strong digital brand presence. So if you've been following along, they recently invited me to be a guest on their podcast, The Digital Bosses, and we spent some time rethinking what retail looks like. And so we wanted to take that conversation a little bit further today with you, and so I've invited them to come speak with me. So let's get them on here. Hope it works this time. Okay. Yay!
Hello. Let's try again.
Okay. Yay! We're here. It just takes a second chance.
We made
it.
it.
So, okay, perfect. Well, good morning.
Exactly.
I'm so
Good
good.
morning. How are you?
Technology works. Yes.
I know, right? Limits.
Well, thank you for joining, and I'm so excited. My favorite conversation. I know we had an amazing one when we recorded the podcast, but it's always a fun time chatting with you. And I just love that we both have this experience in retail. We've both worked on the front line. We've both seen a different side of it. So we're not just strategizing about something we have no experience with, right? Like we've seen it all. So I always enjoy chatting with you about it.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it's, I always spoke about my experience in beauty and fashion before, but, I never dove into the retail details, if you will. And that's why we call the episode Rethinking Retail, because we dove into some very good angles of how it's changing after the pandemic, what is coming next, how retail is rethinking the consumer experience. And for anyone listening that is curious to see how things work, it's just, it's brilliant. So I'm super excited for this chat. Hello, Claire.
Nobody's frozen.
Good morning. Oh my God. Right there. I was listening. I'm like, this is not letting me to get into the live, but we made it. Hello, guys. So excited to be live with you, Rachel, again. And thank you so much for the warm intro. That was brilliant. And, it's always good to see your face. And I've enjoyed so much of just doing the podcast to collab with you. And I love this topic because I literally was listening. We all came from the retail and things are changing so rapidly. It's like, where is it going to go? Where's the next thing that is happening in sales and
It's
retail?
so scary. It's unknown, right? That's the scary part as a business owner. You can plan and you can kind of project, right? And understand through so many different ways. But where are we going? That's the exciting but scary part. So you're right. Yeah.
Exactly. So I know last week we had a live together and Joseph was not able to join. And then today, I'm so glad that he is able to join us. And we're going to dive into this conversation even deeper because you are still, even though you're hosting, but the attention is still you because you have gave so much of knowledge during the podcast. And if people have missed it, I know we have some questions and we're going to play around asking each other. So I'll throw the mic to Joseph.
I mean, everyone's input is important.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm so happy that I joined you guys today because last week I was still dealing with a cold and I was like, it's back again. So I was like, let me just take 2 days off. And it was like, I was a little bit behind. So yeah, Rachel, I would love you to share with my audience that is tuning in right now, if they're watching this on a replay as well, to share a little bit more about who you are and what's your superpower,
well, I'm
if they
Rachel.
don't know that yet.
I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm born and raised here. I absolutely love it. I am a sales coach, and I focus primarily on retail and working with retail business owners to help them improve their retention and keep their team motivated, because we've all, had our team not support us or kind of not want to be there. So I get them energized and excited, enthusiastic, and as a result, also boosting sales. And I have spent about 12, 13 years working in the retail industry, mostly within fine jewelry. And, just like we talked about, I mean, a little different than beauty, right? But still kind of a luxury, like feel good item, right? But most of the time I spent working as a store manager, but I oversaw a couple different stores and fell in love with developing people and really just taking what we think about sales and flipping it on its head and making it more fun and exciting, right? So rethinking sales in general. And so I think retail, we often kind of have this like negative view. It's kind of like a stepping stone, but it's actually a really important thing. It's something that it's part of our economy. It says a lot about consumer behaviors and where we're headed. So anyways, to answer your other question, my superpower, I would say, is I'm really good at reading a room and then being empathetic. So I can walk into a room and, you can feel the energy.
Nice.
You just know like what's going on. What would you guys say is?
I love it.
No, I agree. I think that's super. That's a big power. And for me, I would say it's awareness. I always kind of understand. And, I think because I came from sales, and I want to share something that I never share. How did I go to beauty? Because that's, I had a really bad skin when I was a teenager. And I remember being one of those people going into YouTube, trying to look for skincare options to see what I could use for my acne. Nothing was working. So I was like, let me see if makeup could be the trick. And I started to like go into makeup. And I got really interested about beauty and, how the products work and etc. And then my mom was always very passionate about cosmetic. So I think I got that from her. And, there was a program with LVMH. It was a talent program where you were able to join and apply, and you could learn all the different different sector, from retail to branding to marketing. And I did it, and it was a 2.5 years program, and it was great. I worked in the store. I was, a beauty advisor, an assistant manager, and then I went into training, and I started to train people on sales. And sales, it's fun, and it was fast, and I brought velocity into my personality, and it was brilliant because it was just really psychology. And psychology is what linked me to marketing, and be able to come from sales and do marketing. It's just a very different avenue, because if you do sales right, you can do marketing well.
That's good.
Not quite often the opposite.
I like that. I'm going to write that down. If you
love that.
do sales well, you can do marketing good. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's like if you do sales right, you can do marketing well, but not the opposite.
That's like a quote right there.
I like that. That's really good. Yeah.
Because sales is about delivering the transformation. People. This is where the marketing message is wrong. It's like people are so focused on the journey. So, we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that. That's great. That's a good marketing message. That's how people get to understand how many steps do they get to the result. But what really makes a sale is the transformation. So it's the result. You need to sell the result. It's like,
I agree.
Okay, so what does this product mean to me? Okay, is it going to make me feel like, it's like, let's bring an example of a cream. Oh, this cream is done with this vitamin C from Himalaya. Nobody cares. Is it going to make me look younger? Is it going to remove my spots? Is it going to make me look fresher? Is it going to make me feel good? That's what people buy. So, that's one thing. And, once you understand that, that's when you come from sales. And then you're able to dilute this message into marketing. When you come only from marketing, you're so focused on the message. Oh, by the way, this is what it should be. And this is, it's not always like that. People are very fast, right, nowadays. So the result is what you need to market in your message more than the actual process. The process helps to get to know you as a brand and see how you're different from how I am different from you and how my process is different, because people love to know that. But then what really makes the conversion is the result that you bring in. It's not really
it's the benefits versus conversion, or benefits versus features, right?
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that good marketing can drive people in, but it doesn't make them buy, right? Um, it's you.
Exactly. I'm going to bring an example linked to social media. I offer social media management, and me and Claire offer brand consulting 360. People are not going to work with us because we use a Trello board instead of using an Excel sheet. They're going to come to us because, we do use a Trello board. It's great, but, it's just not, you come with me, I'm going to do your marketing on it, but I give you a Trello board. It's so exciting. It's like, who cares? That's the process. It makes it easier, but it doesn't make any result.
That's pretty exciting.
The result is what you buy.
Trello board, come on now. Don't discount yourself.
Many people may not even know what is a Trello board. So there's a different excitement in different journey, I find. Yeah. So, I to quickly share because I want to keep the time straightforward. my superpower, I think I'm very good at connecting people. Like right away when I talk to people within probably, less than within under 1 minute, so I can kind of sense it, and I can start to direct my asking the right question. And I think that's very important because you want to build that trust and then asking the right questions, and that it's what sales all about. It's not you want to build that authentic relationship that they really feel like they're trusting you. So I think that would really link to I know that Joe has a question regarding about the customer service key elements about the positive experience in retail. So I'll let you two take over, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to, I want your perspective, Rachel, about what do you think is that one thing that transforms a positive customer experience to a negative customer experience? When it comes to working in retail, the sales, there are two different types of pictures. You have the picture where people are scared of the salesperson, or people that cannot wait to be talking to. So what is, in your opinion, what does make it good, and how did it change after COVID?
I would say, honestly, it probably hasn't changed too much since COVID. I just think it's coming more to light. So I think that the way we treat customers always should have been the same before or after. But I think that we're recognizing just how important it is in order to drive business and keep people in our store, right? Or keep people buying. But I would say the number one mistake that people don't make, which leads into what truly makes the difference, is having a customer-centric mindset. So often in business, I think we're like, okay, I need to make these sales, and you're very business-oriented, and you're like, how do I generate leads, and how do I convert these people? And so you kind of make it me, which, of course, we need to make sales, right? But we kind of lose the element of it. This is actually about the customer and serving them and the benefits and the transformations, right? Going into features and benefits, right? We lose sight of this is really for the customer. They're the heart of what we do. We don't have customers, we don't have a business, right? That is your biggest asset, is your customers. And so what can really make a difference is when you go into your interactions with people is, do you have this customer-centric mindset? Are you there to serve them, right? I know I shared this example last week. I think this is a really beautiful example of a positive versus maybe not such a positive one. But I went wine tasting. And I walked in, and I was a little bit early. I was waiting for my friend, and I started talking with the lady that was going to serve us. And we exchanged names. We learned a little bit about each other. I told her about my experience with wine. She shared hers. And we just started talking about our day and how she got started, all the rapport things. So we really just built this quick connection. And so by the time my friend showed, we were really excited, and I could introduce her to my friend. And every pour that she gave us, that she told us about it and the story about it. And then she started getting so hyped up that she's like, I want you to try this wine. I know it's not on the list to try today, because you get 5 tastings, right? But she was like, I still want you to try it regardless. And so let me tell you about it. And so she just made it so fun and brought us in. And so my friend and I were like, we can't not buy something from her. She was so amazing. We want to support her. But which one do we buy? It was the hardest decision. And so, at some point in all of this amazing experience, right, she had stepped away. And I think she went on a break or something, because someone else stepped in and came over. And all she did was put the glass in front of us and tell us what it was and walk away. Didn't exchange names, was very kind of cold and distant, didn't make it fun or a story. And so I thought, well, right.
Wow, such a contrast, isn't it?
And so I was like, you know what, maybe she just I don't know, maybe she's just filling in. And so I just watched her, as I do. And I noticed every single person she was interacting with, because she had her own tables, she's doing the same thing, just putting it down and walking away. And so to me, that's a really great example of sales and kind of client experience coming together and how it really influences sales. Because truthfully, the second girl, like, yeah, she made an impact because I'm talking about her, but she really didn't. Like, I don't even know what her name was. I don't know why she was there, how long she's been there. Like, there was nothing special. And I would have walked away after that tasting not feeling bad for not buying, right? Like, there was no sale made. And so you can see when we really put that customer first and we have those conversations and we build rapport and trust and make it fun, sales doesn't feel so hard, right? And it becomes a better experience to the point where I want to talk about it, where I've talked about it multiple times, right? Which makes me want to come back. And so, and I also felt seen and heard. Like, there's so much that goes into that psychologically speaking. But I think that's just truly a beautiful example of how important an experience can be on someone without us even really realizing.
I love that. It's such a great point, because sales do not have to be difficult when you actually put your customers first. But often I think in retail world, even just online world, I do find there's something very similar, because our heads is right away we think about us. Well, I have to make sales. I have to make sales first, because if not, how am I going to meet my target for the month? Oh my God, because I remember back in the day in cosmetic, as a cosmetic manager, you have target every month. You meet it, they give you a new target. So you're always thinking, oh my God, the first thing, how can I have the customer to buy at least like $300 to $500 or more? But I like the fact that you start building that friendship. And I always often say, just like you're going out for a date, you need to first learn about the person, about the lifestyle, who this person is. And then if there's any similar question, you can actually go deeper. And that kind of go back to what Joseph talked about. It does go a lot into psychologically behavior. If you know how to notice customers, those little things can actually make you big impact. And actually, I love how you always observe the little details, in the retail world, because those are things that can really turn into a big sale, and then retaining customer. So that actually is the next question I have here for you. What do you feel and some of the most common challenges that business face in terms of sales? Because they think about sales from their own perspective, and then they may not notice there's some challenges. So I'd like you to dive into from the way, because you're always so detail oriented when it comes to sales, and what are some common challenges that you can actually help listening audience who are listening today, especially we're moving into Q2. People are like, I want to, rock it because it's Q2. People pay tax, and now I have their money. I want to rock my business. So please share that with us.
Gosh. So, I think first of all is training is really important. I think that we don't take it as seriously. We often say, oh, I don't have time. I'm just going to read this book, or I'm just going to watch this course and I'm going to learn. The reality is nobody retains that information, especially after 90 days. There's lots of research around that. So if you're a manager, let's say, and you're trying to train your team, the most important thing you can do is make sure that you're making time to train your team consistently. Put that on your calendar, make the time for it, be there with them, give them that feedback, role play, or hire me, right? To do it for you. But if you can get your team to a very solid place that understands what they're doing and every action they take and how it influences your sales, you can start stepping away now and focus on other things, because they know what's expected of them and they know how to talk and create a good experience. So I think that gets really missed. I know, I'm trying to think what else would be. I think that we often just see sales as this action, this thing we have to do, and we forget it's actually a way of doing business. It is every interaction you have with a customer that influences that impression, that influences whether they buy or don't buy or tell other people about you. And there's it's sales happening without you even being involved, right? It's future sales. And I think that,
autopilot sales.
Right. And so I think that we often just see sales as this thing, and as a result, it becomes very transactional. And that kind of goes back to what we said at the beginning, is that we are just there to get people through a line. We are just there to close that sale, that there's nothing that happens beyond that. And like you said, we get I've been there, trust me. My former team members would probably tell you that I get so focused on the end result. I have to make these sales, right? and that you lose sight of what you're actually doing in between it. So I hope that answers it. But yes, Joseph, I don't know if you had any thoughts too about it. But...
It does. It does.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think, it comes back to what Claire said, target versus customer experience. What the customer needs compared to what you want to sell to them, not always the same thing. When I used to do sales training, I will go to stores and train people in the new launch. And, the difference between me and my colleagues doing training on different brands, it would be like, well, guys, you need to focus on that. And I will always say, make sure this product is your upsell for this month. So build the routine. Of course, we're talking about skincare. So people don't come for one cleanser. They come, just make sure you sell them a routine and the new product is part of it. Sometimes they might need it. Sometimes they might not. That's okay. Give them what they want and what they need as well. Like, it's more important what they need than what you want to sell them. If there is something that works for them, that's great. But if you are thinking, okay, this product might make me lose the client in the longer run because I'm pushing something, and you see this all the time when people are just selling you perfume, they spray you. Like, I hate that when people go into stores and they spray you. Like, Jesus Christ, wait a second. like it's like, hi, do you like oud? And I'm like, no, I don't, but thanks. But it's just like, and it's just like, why I get it is the new option, but instead of doing that, just, push one perfume that you think the client might like, and then give them the other one as an option. And, when you have a manager that will tell you the opposite, they're not great managers because they don't understand. And sometimes that's the problem in retail. You get retail schooling from people that don't know how to sell themselves. They become car salesmen. It's just very different type of sales. It's always coming from a place of service. I think that's the way, and this is what we cover on the podcast. Now, I think the last question I want to ask you, Rachel, how your customer experience for yourself changed between now comparing to before the pandemic? How do you shop? Do you shop more online? Do you shop more in store? Question extended to Claire as well. I'm curious.
Well, I do shop online. I think that's inevitable. We all do. It's easy. It's, midnight comes around and you're like, oh, shoot, I really just have this itch to go shopping, right? But I still shop in person quite a bit too, especially for clothing. It's just not the same. Things never fit right. Or there's like, and I know we talked about this on the podcast episode too, but it's almost like brick and mortar has become like this place for online returns. And so we buy online, but we still go in store, which is such a funny concept because we don't go in store to begin with. We're like, oh, the convenience of shopping online, but you're still ending up in a store. And so a lot of those sales strategies should be focused on, well, how do you handle a return from online in order to keep making sales? Because you can actually make a bigger sale, but that's for a different conversation, right? Yep.
Exactly. We had it on the show. We talked about this in the show. You brought a really good example of how to do it. So if anyone listening is curious to know, how do you transition online to offline or vice versa? That's what the podcast is about. It's really interesting. It's about rethinking retail from a perspective of how do you integrate online with offline in line that you don't lose anything either way. I think that's the way I would describe it.
I love it. Yes. So I'll share really quick because in the podcast, we also dive in different opinions of how we see retail is changing, how we shop. I personally do shop online. I also do like shopping in person, especially right now, spring. Why would I want to shop online? I want to go out and see colors. So, but again, it's really different experience, and I totally agree with you. And I think at the end of the day, if you own a brick and mortar or even you have an online shop, there are so many great tips that Rachel has shared in the podcast that I really encourage you to really listen. And there's some notes because this topic is going to be ongoing. Retail is not really going to go away. And then digital, you also have an online e-com shop. It's really so important you can implement some of the tips and knowledge that we have talked about, and Rachel really shares some great knowledge of the way how she actually observes customer journeys. So I really encourage you to check it out, the podcast. So before we end the conversation, obviously the last thing is, how can people find you if they're interested to explore more about sales, retail, customer journey, etc.?
Well, first of all, if you're not aware, one of the best ways to work with me, of course, is one-on-one. So I would actually start with a consultation with you, figure out what your goals and needs are, right? Because we need to know our base point. And then I would actually work with you one-on-one and come in there, work on the sales floor with you, observe what's happening, and come up with the complete strategy for you. And then from there, we'll implement coaching, training, whatever is needed, right? I also do a lot of workshops. And so if anyone likes a little extra training, but you can find me to talk about this more on my Instagram account, my website. I'm also on LinkedIn. Rachel Morgan Coaching is the handle and website. And of course, you got to go listen to this podcast episode. So you can find us on most platforms. So Apple, Spotify, right? Digital Bosses. And the more recent episode on Rethinking Retail Sales. So.
Love it. Joseph, do you want to quickly share what we're working on this month, especially for Q2? Do you want to quickly just give a shout out to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are diving into sales even more in the show. We have we are doing a very interesting episode about financial health and how to look after your finance as a business. That's going to be the episode we're dropping next week. And then we are diving into more brand audits as well, which is one of the core services that we offer as digital bosses. So stick around on the pages and listen to Rachel's episode with me and with Claire. It's a really good episode. So yeah, that's all for now. I would say stick around. That's the key here. So that's good.
Thank you so much, guys. I always love talking to you, and let's go enjoy the spring and let's bring more sales.
I love it, and I'm so glad this worked out today. No glitches. Well, second time, but yay!
I know.
Right, thank you guys
it's good.
So much, and go listen to their podcast. It's truly amazing.
Bye,
I learned so much, so go
See you
listen.
later.
So, all right, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.